You have no idea how much the words you say affect people in their lives. This is a concept I've talked about before, but it keeps coming up in my life and it keeps surprising me and it keeps really being an important part of my life. Last evening, I was teaching, and the last bit before I left the kid I was teaching, I said, look, I know you've got exams coming up, I know you're really worried about it, but the progress I've seen you making over the past few weeks is really good. I think you're going to do really well. And normally kids are like, quite shy, they won't really say anything, but she said, thank you so much, that really helps me with my confidence. Thank you for saying that. And that to me is a sign of something bigger, right? A sign of what it means when you say these words to people. Because quite oftentimes you will say that same thing, but then the person will be too shy to respond in a nice way. They will think that. They will think, oh my God, that makes me feel so much more confident in myself. But they're too shy to say thank you, or they're too shy to even say that, right? Many times in my life, I've acted in a certain way, showing kindness, giving them words of encouragement, doing something nice for someone. And many times they respond to me and tell me that they are grateful for that. They might write me a letter, they might write me a poem, or just tell me in person, or they might just do something or give me a gift and show me that. But then I have the thought of, okay, if this many people give me the gift or write me the letter, how many people just take it and don't tell me that they have been grateful for that, right? Sorry about my throat today. Because not a lot of people do. It's not an instinct that people naturally go towards. For some people, they don't like to voice their gratefulness because maybe they feel weak in a certain way when they say, I like what you did there. Thank you for that. Or maybe they're just shy about it. And what that means to me, or what that reminds me of, or what that makes me want to tell you or remind you, is that remember that, okay? Because you might be doing nice things, you might be doing good things for people, and you might not hear that thank you. You might not hear the people saying, I appreciate you. But it doesn't mean you're not appreciated. It doesn't mean that you're not doing good work, right? First of all, they might be thinking, I appreciate this person, even subconsciously, but they might not say it. But even if they didn't, you're still doing something good in the world. You're still building that habit of being kind, being encouraging, so that when that person does come along who does appreciate it, you will have that skill sharpened, right? You will have that ability to love and to care for someone upgraded, leveled up, because it is a skill that you need to learn. I know that it sounds weird that you need to level up your skill of loving people, your skill of appreciating and caring for people, but it is a skill. Most everything in life is a skill you can learn, and love is one of those things. And so let me talk about that. It's a practice. It's every day you need to go about life thinking, how can I make this person feel cared for? How can I make this person feel seen? How can I make this person feel heard? That's one of the most important things, right? Very recently, I've received a lot of messages like this from people who I've talked to, and they've told me, thank you for that conversation that one night. I felt really heard. You really listened to me, and I really appreciate that from you, right? There was a point in my life where I just made that choice. I was like, it's not as if I wasn't a good listener to start with, but I was thinking in my head, okay, from now on, I'm going to make a conscious choice to really listen to people, right? And not just wait for my turn to speak. There's a line from the movie Fight Club where the female character, I can't remember her name, she says to the main character in the movie, she says, I love this place. And the reason I love this place is because people actually listen to you instead of just waiting for their turn to speak. And somewhat unfortunately and morbidly in that movie, that place was a terminal illness kind of meetup group. So she was saying that she had to go all the way to a place like that to feel heard. That's how desperate people are for this. That's how rare this has become in today's society. And that movie, correct me if I'm wrong, was from the 90s. Imagine how much worse it's gotten. It's only gotten worse. Just like picture an interaction today, an average interaction today. How well does someone listen to you? AirPods in, on their phone. Hey boy. Sorry, my dog's just come into my room. They don't listen very well. Let me just close the door. And it's something you witness, right? People's attention spans aren't great today. People's attention spans don't really extend far enough for you to be able to tell them something very important, for them to listen and actually care about what you're saying. It's horrific. And so you don't need to do that much to make that person feel heard, to make that person feel seen. Just actually care about what they're saying. Actually be curious about what they're trying to tell you, about what they're trying to get out, right? Encourage them to speak more. Use questions like, tell me more about that. Or how did that make you feel at that time in your life, right? And help them finish their sentences as well. If they're struggling to find a word, help them try to identify what they're trying to say. And say things like, oh, so are you saying like this? I'm a bit confused. Is it like this or is it like that? And help them try to communicate to you what you're saying, or what they're saying, sorry. And just that little bit of intentionality goes so far, right? I often talk to people like this who want to have that ability to make people feel heard, make people feel seen. Essentially, they want to upgrade their social skills, their skills of social interaction and just talking to people, in essence, right? And that's part of it. And they tell me, well, I kind of tell them these stories about, people writing me letters and things like that. I was like, how do you receive letters? How are you so good at talking that you receive letters? And I'm like, I'm not any more skilled than you are, right? It's just the habit of listening to people well enough. And then a sprinkling of other things. Saying some kind words about them. Saying some encouraging words about them. And it's a skill you develop over time, right? Perhaps I've gotten that skill by deliberate practice, but at the start, I'm not like genetically gifted in speaking. In fact, you might be surprised to know I was a very shy and awkward kid who went to a boys' school and was terrified of girls. That was me. Yeah, I know, it's weird looking at me now and thinking that I used to be that kind of person, but I was. That's just a fact. And over time, I became someone else, or someone who was able to speak a bit better. The person you're seeing right now. And part of that conscious effort is just thinking that in the back of your brain, right? I often encourage you guys to think, and like the entire kind of process of this, or the entire kind of ethos, that's the right word, of what I do online and my businesses and things like that, is to encourage people to think. So think about that in the back of your mind. I always like to give this as a little bit of like maybe homework, or maybe like an ongoing task. Think about, whenever you have a conversation with somebody, how can I make this person feel seen? How can I make this person feel heard? Right? And it won't always go perfectly, of course. Maybe that person will just ramble and just like talk your ear off, and they won't care that you listen to them. But some people will be so grateful that they will write you letters. In 2023, 2024, right? The modern day. Letters. That's how grateful they will be. Just a little bit of intentionality, right? So think about these different things and the previous episodes as well of this podcast, right? So last time I talked about thinking about the fact that social media is this potentially negative effect on our lives, and you need to think about that very deeply and think about exactly what it is that these big companies want from you and whether you're going to surrender yourself to that. And the last few episodes about business and things like that. So you think about how you go about business. Just have that in the back of your mind. A little principle of okay, you need to spend money to make money. For example, that's a small principle there, right? And just that nagging feeling in the back of your mind, it might go through seasons, okay? So you might want to have one focus for this month. For the month of November, I'm going to focus on making people feel heard, for example, right? And it isn't necessarily like fixed amounts of time, so like a month or a week or whatever. It just is something that you absorb through hearing someone speak about it, right? So when you hear me speak about it, if it really resonates with you, if it's really like, oh my God, that's amazing, I really want to do that in my life, then it will stick. But if it's not, then that's okay. There'll be something else. Maybe another of my videos might stick with you a bit more than this one does. So let that thought stick in your mind, if it is particularly sticky to you, and let that influence your life for the better. Let that kind of influence the path that your boat takes in this ocean of life, right? Let that wave push against your boat and push you along in the right direction, if that's a metaphor I can make. And honestly, the results of this work are second to none. I heard someone say recently, if you can develop the ability to communicate your ideas and speak properly, and if you develop the ability to learn, then you're set for life. Because if you can learn anything, then you have the intelligence. And if you can communicate anything, if you're good at communicating, you can funnel that intelligence or focus that intelligence into a effective laser beam so that you can be as effective as possible in the things that you're doing, in the things that you want to achieve in life. And all that's left is to do the work. Learn things, communicate things, provide value, and earn money. But beyond the success, it's just so powerful to have this ability to reach into someone's life and switch, flick the switch of happiness in them, right? You can literally do that. That's how powerful this feels. Not as in power hungry or whatever. That's how effective, that's probably a better word to use there. That's how effective this feels. You can literally have a conversation with someone, and by using particular mannerisms and saying particular words, being kind, being encouraging, you can have them walk away from that conversation smiling, not just on the outside, but on the inside, having them feel happy. They can come to you crying and leave with a smile on their face. Imagine having that power. Imagine that. That's a real thing that you can do in your life. Seriously, genuinely. There's a question I often ask with some of my clients. I ask them, do you think that this is possible? The thing that we're trying to do here, do you think it's possible? And it's a cheesy question, but it's an important one. Because you need to believe it's possible in order to achieve that goal. You can't just come in thinking, oh, it might work, it might not work. You won't achieve the results that way. You've got to know that it will work. Right? So these results, these effects that you have in people are very real effects. I have a box of memories that I keep. And they are filled with such things like this. Nice things that people have written about me purely because of who I was at that time in my life. And it's nice to see that. It's nice to read those things and think, that was a result of me intentionally trying to be a good person, a nice person. And it had these effects on people. And it's... honestly, if I achieved nothing else in life, I'd be happy that I achieved that, at least. There's a little note I wrote down a couple of weeks ago. And it was the fact that it went something like this. Upon hearing the words, "You're a good man," a man can die happily. Right? You're a good person. You're a gentleman. You're a good man. Things like that. That is all a man needs. And I say man because that's where I come from. That's what I have to speak about. But it is universal. It is men and women. Men and women want to feel appreciated, want to feel seen, want to feel like they're important in life, want to feel like their effect on the world is a good one. Right? And I feel, particularly for men, that's the end goal. To be a good man. Like, if you can do that and push that to the limit of your capability, and to do that in whatever format that takes, right? To be a good man. So whatever your mission is in life. So my kind of mission in life is to help as many people get to where they want to be. And the way I do that is via productivity and life coaching and philosophies and talking about my ideas and seeing how much that can help people, if it does, and encouraging people to think. Those are my ways of being a good man, right? And hearing that from people, hearing people literally saying, "You're a good man, Dylan," or people commenting things like, "This is amazing, like I love what you're doing here, I'm going to listen to all of these." Like I got a comment this morning, literally. Someone said, "This is really cool, I'm going to listen to all of these. I'm going to go back and listen to all of these." And I was like, thank you. That's really nice. Like it makes me feel like I'm doing something valuable in the world. And that's just it. If you've got that, I'm sorry. If you've got that, then what else is there? What else do you need? What else do you need? I'm so sorry about my cough. Yes, money's nice to have. Yes, a big house, fancy cars, paying for dinner, things like that. That might be nice. But really, feeling appreciated and feeling needed is what matters more than that. That's the real good feeling. One second, I've got to let my dog out. Okay, boy, you want to go? Come on, boy. It's a great big German Shepherd, but he acts like a toddler. So that's the result, right? Like in my life, I know that that's all I aspire to. Just being able to say, like for example, on my gravestone, Dylan was a good man. At least that. And I would die with a smile on my face. I'd be happy with that. That would be amazing for me. And it's good to think about those things. Gravestone qualities. Right? Who were you? Think about a point in time where you're dead and they have to write something on your gravestone, or they have to write something on your eulogy. A eulogy is basically a written kind of document or a speech that people give after you die that tells the story of your life. Right? And so on your gravestone, they're not going to write like how much you made in life. They're not going to write that you had a Lambo. They're not going to write that you had a fancy house or, you smoked cigars all day. Like, they're not going to write about your accomplishments in terms of financial gain. They're going to talk about who you were. Dilan was a great father. He was a good son and a good husband. He was kind. He was honest above all else. And he was a good man. Something like that. That's something I aspire to, right? It's a really good journaling prompt to write your own eulogy. Because then it kind of brings into focus the person you want to become. So what does it mean to be a good man? What does that mean to you? How can you make it so that that happens in your life? How can you make it so that the people around you witness that fact? That you're good, that you're honest? Well, you'll have to be honest, right? You'll have to stop lying. You'll have to start doing good things to people, right? Or for people. And it's... I'm so sorry about this. I can't tell you how much this journey is worth it. Yes, it's painful to start, as anything is. If you're going to start running, if you're going to start going to the gym, it's painful. If you're going to start developing your social skills, you're going to have a bunch of awkward encounters. Okay? That's fine. Because you get over that hump very quickly and it becomes really fun really quickly. Right? So go start talking to people. Stop spending so much time on your phone. Stop spending so much time with your earphones in. Right? Spend time out there in the world, out in public, out speaking to strangers, wherever it is. And take every single opportunity you have to talk to as many people as you can. And when you do that, take care and pay attention to how you are talking to people. And involved in that is a two-way conversation. It's how you talk and how you listen. Okay? Pay attention to how you listen. Are you making them feel heard? Are you asking the right questions? Are you making it seem like in your body language that you are listening? If I was talking to you and I just was like, I'd let you talk and I was like looking away from you. Does that look like I'm listening to you? No. Right? I'm kind of like looking at my watch, like, when is this guy going to shut up? That's what body language I'm showing. Whereas if I wanted to make it seem like I'm listening to you, I'd look into your eyes and see what you're saying and think, I'd be like leaning in. I'd be like, okay. Oh, so you mean like a blue one? A big one? Okay, right, okay. Right, okay. Oh, yeah. And you see how these kind of little... So I'm leaning in, I'm kind of like really making it look like I'm listening and also interjecting a little bit to kind of make sure that I understand what you're saying. Right? And that effort makes them feel heard. Right? It's little things like that. And say things like, if they said, oh, I ran a marathon today, I got this time. Like, a marathon? Really? That's so cool. Do you run before? Like, is this your first marathon? And like asking questions like that. It's surprisingly easy when you know what you're doing. So just go out there and make the effort in those conversations. It will feel strange. It will feel awkward because maybe you haven't done it before. And so just try. Just try. It isn't being fake. I had this conversation a lot. People say, oh, if you're doing that, if you're using techniques to be better at social skills, you're being fake. No, you're not. Okay? I made this analogy in the last video. When a baby is trying to learn to walk, is the baby being fake? No, he's just following the natural progression of what he's trying to do. So just because you haven't done something before, it doesn't mean you're being fake. It just means you're following the natural progression of what you're trying to do. That's it. Yes, it will seem unfamiliar. Yes, it will feel like you're trying to be perhaps someone you're not, but it's not like that. It's you are bringing forth the spirit of someone you're trying to become. You're imagining where you are now and the person you're going to be in, a decent amount of time. And you're thinking, okay, how do I get there? I'm going to do these little habits. And it's going to feel strange. It's going to feel uncomfortable, right? But I'll learn. I'll get better. Just like any other skill. Like running a 5K. Like going to the gym. Like learning guitar. Of course, like when you play guitar for the first time, it's going to sound really bad. Like no surprise, right? But be willing to go through that. How badly do you want this? How badly do you want it? If you want it bad enough, you will be willing to go through that stuff. So do those things in your life. Make it so that you have enough opportunity to talk to people and enough opportunity to develop your social skills. And then when you do, have the intentionality to make people feel listened to and heard. And think about what it is in your life in general that might make you have the reputation of a good man, a kind person, an encouraging person, a good mother, father, wife, husband, right? Think about what they might write on your gravestone. Think about what they might say about you when you die, right? Like, this person was amazing. Think about what people will even say behind your back when you're alive, right? Oh, Dylan, that guy is so kind. That guy is amazing. I love that guy, right? And of course, look, whatever the situation is, you'll always have haters as well. As many people love you, that exact many people will probably hate you as well, right? It could be different, of course, but that's kind of something I expect in life when it comes to just life in general, and also just speaking online about things, having controversial opinions. People will really want to bring you down and hate you, and that's fine, because there's an equal number of people who love me and love my content, right? So count your blessings and continue on the path towards being good, and you can't fail. I'm not saying you shouldn't listen to the haters, right? Sometimes the haters will have something that is actually beneficial to you. They might point something out like, okay, you do this thing that is bad, and you might think, you know what? That person has a point, right? So you might go about changing your life because of that person. That's okay. But then don't let it get to you so deeply that they convince you that you're a bad person. I've had this so much in my life, not just online, just to let you know. When I have done something that in my mind was only ever a good thing, right? And people were hateful towards me for it. I could see a possible path that those people could convince me that I was the bad person doing these bad things, right? But I had to make sure, and I had to realize that I could not allow these people to convince me that I was a bad person, right? And that's a result of knowing yourself well enough to defend against things like that, to defend against opinions like that. I know what I did, and I was conscious of what I was doing when I did it. And my intentions were pure, my intentions were good. So, even though I hear people say that I am a bad person that did bad things, I know what I did and I believe it to be good. And so they won't convince me that I'm a bad person. You have to have that confidence in life. And that almost breaches into an entirely different topic, which I might talk about later, which is the fact that you need to know who you are in life. That's very, very important. People don't think it's important, but it's very important. Because if you don't know who you are, others will decide for you. And that's a very real situation that happens, right? When you do this, when you do something and, people suddenly change their opinions about you and try to convince you that you're a bad person, you need to know who you are. In yourself, not just even within your close family or close friends, because what if your close friends and family turn against you and say that you are the bad person? You need to make sure that you know in yourself that you've done something good. You need to know. It's very important. So identity is certainly part of that story, that narrative that you build for yourself when you develop in this direction of becoming a better person, becoming a good person, a gooder person, right? If I can say that. It doesn't make grammatical sense, but you know what I mean. A better person as in a more good person. And that's something I'll say. You'll always get hate. You'll always get hate. No matter what you do, you will always get hate. I can't stress that enough. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means that you are doing something worthwhile in life. The only scenario in which you don't get hate is where you do nothing. So no one ever sees you do anything. So they have no possibility of hating you, but they also have no possibility of loving you. So if you want to pick that path, I would not recommend it. Do something worthwhile in life. You will get the love. You will get amazing amounts of love. And you will find that amazing to you. And you will also get hate. And treat that hate appropriately. Don't let it convince you that you are someone you're not. Take the criticism with a pinch of salt and use that to your advantage. But understand that there are people that love you. And remember that. Keep a box of memories, like I do. I'd recommend that. Even screenshots of texts that you receive from people that have said nice things about you. Keep a folder on your laptop or your phone, whatever, and go through those every now and then and remind yourself of the person you are and the person you've been in the past and the person you could be in the future. And keep being that person. Remind yourself, this is who I'm trying to be. I want to keep doing that. How do I keep doing that? And well, it's just a very important thing. I just want to reiterate that a lot. It's a very, very important thing. It changes a lot about your life. I heard about a study about half a year ago that was like probably the longest study that they've ever done about this kind of thing. It was across multiple decades of people's lives. And they noticed that the result of the highest life satisfaction or life happiness came from meaningful connections, right? Not just happiness, but even physical health. It came from people who made meaningful connections in their lives. So it's bigger than a little bit of like extra cherry on top happiness. It's literally your quality of life, mentally and physically, is influenced by the way that you speak and you listen to people, the way that you communicate. So that's how important this is. So everything I've talked about today, being kind, being encouraging, being a good listener, dealing with lovers and haters and things like that, working on that skill is a skill that I would recommend to everybody. And I would not recommend going and skipping that skill. I reckon everyone would benefit from having a skill like that. And you will not regret it. I can promise you that right now. So, that's all I have to say today. Keep thinking about that. Keep thinking about how you are, how much of a good person you are, or who you are, and think about perhaps your gravestone, your eulogy. Think about what people say behind your back. Think about what people might think about you in their hearts. Think about the things that people have said to you. And let those things encourage you towards a better life, to be a more good person. So with that being said, keep thinking, take care of yourselves, and until next time, see you soon.